Benjamins, baby.
In collusion with the big money centers and large investment banks, it created massive debt in our name throughout our economy. This mountain of IOUs was leveraged in a pyramid scheme of speculation, creating a bubble of trillions and trillions of dollars that is now burst. America is now bankrupt. The bankers think that the American people and their children should pay for the consequences of their reckless greed. We say no more banker bailouts. Replace the phony Federal Reserve Bank now with a nationalized bank, issuing our own money in the Federal Reserve. In 1913, the federal government gave the ability to print money out of thin air to the Federal Reserve Bank. As we all know, anyone who has a lot of money has an immense amount of power. Now imagine a group of men that can print the money out of nothing. This is the Fed. The Federal Reserve is not a national bank of the United States. It is a privately owned and held corporation run by a board of governors. These governors are appointed by the 12 single shareholders that hold the controlling interest of our nation's bank. They are private credit monopolies which prey upon the people of the United States for the benefit of themselves and their foreign customers, foreign and domestic speculators and swindlers, and rich and predatory moneylenders. Those 12 private credit monopolies were deceitfully and disloyally foisted upon the country by bankers who came here from Europe and who repaid us for our hospitality by undermining our American institutions, our corporations, and undermining the very money that we use to buy our goods with. In 2006, Alan Greenspan did an interview on TV, and he said the Federal Reserve Bank is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can override actions that the Federal Reserve Bank takes. So long as it is in this place, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter. In other words, the Federal Reserve is above government and can do whatever they want, unless the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 is repealed now.
Yeah.
We need sound money practices in America. We do not need fiat currency systems which are leveraged. We do not need fiat currency systems which are leveraged in our name. We are the ones that are paying the debt and for the mistakes made by these foreign banking interests. It is these same foreign interests that created the tech bubble of the late 90s. It is these same foreign power brokers that created the housing bubble. It is these same foreign brokers that created the derivatives bubble that we are now facing. These are criminal institutions. They loan money to the American people at interest. We are being forced to pay off their criminal actions. In 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. It established a cartel of criminal institutions in this country known as the Federal Reserve Bank. The Fed is our nation's central bank, but there is nothing federal about it. It has put our once prosperous nation at the doorstep of a terrible depression. In collusion with the other big money centers and investment banks around the world, it has created massive debt throughout our economy through bubbles. This mountain of IOUs was leveraged in a pyramid scheme of speculation, creating these bubbles that have now burst. The bankers think that the American people and their children should pay for the consequences of their reckless greed. We say no more banker bailouts. Replace the phony Federal Reserve notes with real commodity-backed money and end the Federal Reserve Bank now.
The Federal Reserve is a private bank. It is as federal as Federal Express.
They loan the money to our government at interest. We are paying that interest.
I'm all right.
Go to Google, type in "end the Fed," educate yourself. You see things on the news every day about the economic collapse, but don't expect the corporate media to tell you the real truth of why these things are happening. You know inherently in your soul that they lie to you every day. Corporate media lies. This is a simple fact. Do you think that they're not lying to you now? That they're not telling you the real root of the problem? The root of the problem is right here, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a private bank. End the Fed. Go to Google, type in "end the Fed." Learn the reasons why we are having the economic problems that we have. There are many possible solutions. We can federalize the Federal Reserve. The government can print the money itself. We can have a gold standard. But the fact of the matter is, until we realize the problem, we'll never come up with a solution. The Federal Reserve Bank is not a federal institution. It is a private bank. We say no more banker bailouts. Replace the phony Federal Reserve note with real commodity-backed money. End the Fed. The Federal Reserve Bank is the cause of our economic crisis. If we had no Federal Reserve Bank, everyone could afford a Hummer. Everyone could afford a car like that. The fact that we have a Federal Reserve Bank and that it leverages our fiat currency into infinity means that they steal 98% of your labor. Since 1913, the value of the U.S. dollar has depreciated by 96%. They are taking out another 2% of that wealth in income tax, state tax, and local tax. You owe the entire national debt of the United States of America to a small cabal of Central European power brokers. You could afford a car like that if we were to disband the Federal Reserve and institute a currency that is backed by gold or silver. The fact that no one can own a car like that except for a select few proves that the Federal Reserve is a criminal institution. They have stolen the real wealth, labor, and assets of this country. And now they are claiming that it is our fault. They are saying that the American people are causing this depression. It is a lie. The Federal Reserve Bank has leveraged our fiat currency into infinity, and they have made it to where we can never pay down the debt. The entire $11 trillion debt is owed to a small banking cartel of Central European power brokers. The Federal Reserve Bank is not federal. It is not a part of the United States government. It is a privately owned and operated institution.